Hi, if this is your first time here, welcome to my YouTube. Or if you're like me and you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Chaotic Curl, and in this week's video, I actually plan on making a two-piece set. But before I get into that, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to join me over on my Instagram, which I did make sure to link down below, chaoticcurl_crafts. You'll be able to see pictures from all my previous projects as well. But like I said, for this week's project, I want to make a two-piece set. I was actually able to find some cotton yarn at the Dollar Tree. It's this Just Cotton from Premier. I actually got it in this turquoise as well as in this turquoise marl, which is like turquoise strung together with white. So my plan, if all goes well, is to make the bikini top from this yarn, and I'll be making the cardigan, which my plan is to make a short sleeved cropped mesh cardigan. Of course, it's summer, so it makes sense, out of this color. And if I have any left over, I want to make it with this color as well. So my plan is to get started on that cardigan first. So I'm going to start from bottom to top, and I'm working in panels. So I'll be making 2 front panels, 1 back panel, and 2 sleeves. Of course, I'll show you guys once all the pieces are put together, and of course, once everything is sewn together as well. But I'm gonna get started on the mesh cardigan first, since it might take me the longest, and then we'll do the bikini top. So let's get started. And just before we get started, in case you thought I forgot, the yarn that we're gonna be using in this week's project, again, like I said, it's this Premier, the Premier Just Cotton yarn. It actually asks for a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and it's a number 4 medium weight yarn. It is 85% cotton and 15% polyester, and the turquoise color has 87 yards, while the Marl turquoise, well, it also has 87 yards, and it's the same makeup. 85% cotton, 15% polyester with a 5.5 millimeter hook. So this is the hook that I'm going to be using, and I did make sure to list all the other supplies that I used down in the description box below. So if you want to follow along, just grab all of your supplies and let's get started. Okay, so I'm about to get started on the second front panel, but I just wanted to show you guys what the project is looking like, just so that you can get an idea of what the mesh is going to look like. Now, as you can see, I do have 3 rows of that mesh with double crochet kind of blocking it off, so that way we have little mesh boxes, and of course the solid row of double crochet. So you are going to have to know how to double crochet, how to double crochet mesh, which is just a double crochet chain 1, stacking the double crochets and the chain 1s on top of each other. And of course I am going to start this project off with a half double crochet at the bottom just to establish the base. So what I'm actually going to do to get started on that second front panel, let me get this out of the way. I already have my slip stitch on my hook. Actually, let me add my stitch markers as well. Just a couple here so that I can get my count. And I like to loop them this way onto my hook so that I can just loop it over my hook and right onto the stitch of the pattern that I want to mark. That way all of the stitches, or all of the safety pins, or in this case the stitch markers, as they're acting as, are going to be facing downward, so they're not going to be in the way when I turn around and start half double crocheting into the same stitch. So again, I'm just going to tighten my slip stitch around my loop, and I'm gonna chain 38 stitches, so that's 35 plus 3 stitches. And so I'm just gonna get started on that. Okay, so as you saw, I was able to finish my chain of 38. Here is where I have it marked for 35. I put a stitch marker in every 7th stitch, so that's going to be 35 plus 3, so that's 1, 2, 3 extra. And we're actually going to do just one more chain, so there's going to be 39 chains, but this one isn't going to count. This is just to turn so I can start my half double crochet. So with a half double crochet, it basically starts off like a double crochet where you're going to yarn over. We're going to skip this first stitch and go right into the second one, into the little back lump. I don't know if you can see that little back lump there. And we're actually gonna pull our stitch through that one Make sure you don't do your chains too tight so that you don't have to struggle to get the hook into them like I do. But we're just going to yarn over and pull through, and then we're going to yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops, and that's going to be the half double crochet. So again, it's just yarn over, go through the back loop of that stitch, yarn over again, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And I'm just going to continue this way until I make it to the end of the row back to my slip stitch. So I'll see you guys there. Okay, so I finished my half double crochets across the row. So what we're going to start now is with the mesh pattern. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually a double crochet, or I'm actually going to do my single crochet turning chain in this first stitch right here. So I'm going to start off with my first single crochet, then just go into the back leg of that single crochet and make another single crochet right on top of it, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. So now in the next stitch we're going to do another double crochet. Then we're actually going to chain 1, skip one of the stitches from the previous row, and in that next stitch do a double crochet, chain 1, skip the previous row stitch. In that next stitch we do another double crochet. Oh, that's my other double crochet, another chain 1, skip that stitch, and we do that double crochet right in there. And now we do another double crochet right in the next stitch, and then we chain 1, skip a stitch, to double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, there we go, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. And if you lose track of the pattern, you can just see that you have 3 holes and then the 2 double crochet. So again, that's the 3 spaces and 2 double crochet right next to each other. So that's basically the pattern that we're following, of the double crochet mesh and then double crochet chain 1. I'm sorry, and then 2 double crochet. So okay, so I chained 1 at the end of here. I'm going to skip this stitch. I almost double crocheted it. We're going to double crochet into the one next to it, and you just continue this pattern for 3 rows, and then in that 4th row you would be double crocheting all the way across. But of course I'm going to show you guys that. But like I said, you're just going to keep going this way until you make it to the end of the row, and you should be finishing off with 2 double crochet like how we started. So I'll see you guys at the end of that row. Okay, so this is the end of that first row. So now I'm going to do the second row exactly the same. So we're going to start off with 2 double crochet and then the double crochet mesh until I get to those 2 double crochet again. So we're just going to continue like this, the same way we did for the first row, for this second row. So I'm going to start off with my single crochet turning chain, and then I'm just going to keep double crocheting and doing the double crochet mesh from here. So basically you're following the pattern that you established in that first row. So we're just going to do the exact same thing, copy the same pattern here. So that's 2 double crochet with the chain 1, and then right on top of that double crochet from the previous row, we're going to work our other double crochet and chain 1. And again, we're just following that same pattern from the previous row. So we're going to go right into that last double crochet to chain another 1, and then again double crochet and double crochet. And just like we did in the first row, we're just going to continue that way, where we're going to have 3 holes of the mesh stitch and then 2 double crochet right next to each other with no chain stitch in between. And that's how we're going to be creating our boxes. So I'll come back and show you guys what this row looks like once it's done. So here I have that second row completed as promised, and you can see that the little mesh boxes are building up. So we're just going to do one more row the same way. We're going to do those 2 double crochet there, 3 holes of double crochet mesh, and then 2 double crochet for this 3rd row again. just so we can give that box a little bit more definition. So again, I'm going to start with my single crochet turning chain. I'm sorry, I mean my stacked single crochet turning chain. So this is just going to be 2 single crochets, one stacked right on top of the other. That's going to be my first double crochet of the row, and then I do that second double crochet right into that second stitch. Now I'm just going to chain 1, and then of course put a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row and chain 1 again. Double crochet on top of the previous row's double crochet, and again another chain 1. And then we're going to double crochet on top of the double crochet from the last row, and again another double crochet in that next double crochet from the previous row. And there we have our little mesh box. So I'm just going to continue this way for the rest of the row, where I'm just going to be chaining the chain spaces, double crocheting on top of the double crochets, and I'm just going to follow the pattern that I established in that first row, and I'll come back and show you guys what that looks like. Okay, this is what the 3 rows look like so far. Now we're going to add that 4th row, and for this row, this is actually going to be the end of our repeat. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to start with that stacked single crochet turning chain, which is of course going to be my first double crochet, and then we're actually going to double crochet all the way across the row to the end. So I'm going to put another double crochet right into that other double crochet from the previous row. Sorry about that. Right there. And then actually in the space, in that chain 1 space that I made, we're going to add a double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet into the double crochet from the previous row. So we're just going to put 1 double crochet into each stitch and 1 double crochet into each chain space, and we just continue this way until the end of the row. And let me just show you guys what it's going to look like at the end, or what it should look like once you're done. Okay, so this is what the pattern looks like once we finished the double crochet row. So as you can see, I have the entire pattern here already, all 4 rows from the repeat. So what we're going to do now is actually restart the pattern, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did for this first row here of double crochet mesh over again. Now, if you do get lost or get a little confused, you can always just look at the previous row to see what it is that you should be doing. So in this case, we're going to get started with those 2 double crochets at the end, or in this case, that 1 single crochet turning chain, stacked single crochet turning chain, and the double crochet in that next stitch. And then of course, just like how we did when we started, we're going to chain 1 and skip that first stitch, that 3rd stitch from the previous row, go right into that next one, chain 1, and again skip the stitch and double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1, skip the stitch, double crochet into that next stitch. And as you can see, we have our 3 holes of mesh, so we're going to do a double crochet into that next stitch, double crochet, and then chain 1 at the end of that double crochet. And of course we're going to continue as we did in the beginning, skipping 1 to double crochet, chain 1 in the next one. Okay, and I'm actually just going to continue like this, repeating, doing the pattern repetition 4 more times. So after this, the first one is done, so now we're going to have 4 more before I switch over to the marled color. But I'm just going to continue with this pattern the same way. So of course, if you do need a bit of a refresher, you can always just rewind and see how I did the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rows, and just continue that way until you build up until you build up your pattern or your piece up to the length that you need it. But I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like once I've finished the 4 repetitions and I'm ready to do that color change, because that's also going to be when I start doing the decrease for the front panel. So I'll show you guys how to do that as well, but I'll see you guys there. Okay, so as you can see, I'm back and I made it to the 4th repetition of this pattern. So now I'm ready, and as you can see, I actually did attach the color for the color change. So what we're going to do actually from here is just get started on row 1 which in this case, like I said, we are decreasing now. So we're actually going to try to get rid of these two and 2/3 of this one, just so that it matches up with the back panel. And actually, to make sure that I'm decreasing on the opposite side of the first panel that I did, I'm actually decreasing on the side where the slip stitch is, so where my waste yarn is, just so that I can keep track of which side I'm on. Since there isn't anything on this side, I know not to decrease over here and to decrease over here. So I'm just gonna get started on decreasing and show you guys how I did it. Now, to start with my decrease, of course, and to start with the row, I'm gonna do my stacked single crochet turning chain. Oh, that's too big. Okay, I'm gonna do my stacked single crochet turning chain. So in that first stitch, we just go ahead and do that single crochet and go into the back loop of that single crochet to make a second single crochet right on top. And we're going to do the second double crochet into that next stitch. And now here's where things get a little different. So we are decreasing. So what I'm going to do is actually decrease by 3. So these 3 chain stitches we're not going to do. So what we're going to do here is we're going to skip 1 here. We're not going to make the chain. We're going to skip 1 and we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. Again, we're not going to make a chain for this stitch. We're just going to skip 1 and double crochet into this one. And then one more time, we are not going to chain the stitch. We're just going to double crochet after skipping 1. We're going to double crochet right into this one. And then right next to it, we're going to do another double crochet. Okay, and now from here we are going to chain 1 and we're going to continue with the pattern as normal. So I'm going to skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, again double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and 2 double crochets. So that's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and then we chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in that next one, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, and then another double crochet. Okay, and so from here I'm just gonna finish off this row and I'll come back to show you guys what we do to decrease once we're coming back. But we're just gonna work it on this side. Again, there's no decreases. So from here, we're gonna start row 2 like how you would normally. So we're gonna do the 2 double crochets at the end and then double crochet, chain 1 all the way until you get to where you started the reductions. So up until you get to the last chain, double crochet 2 together, or not together, but double crochet 2. And I'll show you guys what to do to decrease over here. Okay, so I'm back before I get to the decreases, just so you guys can see the rest of the row was worked the way that I showed at the beginning. We're just doing the double crochet mesh and of course the 2 double crochets where the pattern calls for it. So you can just follow the previous row for this one as well, for this row. But from here, you're just gonna, let me just finish this second to last box so that I can show you guys how we're gonna reduce. Now in the previous row, in this row here, we reduced by 3 stitches by not doing the chain stitches in between. So just by not including those 3 chain stitches, those 3 stitches that we skipped are now gone from this row. So what ends up happening here, as you can see now, is we're gonna continue with the pattern and we're actually gonna reduce in this row by 2. So here, instead of doing the chain stitch on this one, we're not going to do the chain stitch. We're just going to yarn over. We're going to skip this stitch from the previous row and go right into this middle stitch here with our double crochet. And then again, we're going to yarn over and we're going to skip this stitch. So for the ends here, we're not going to do 2 double crochet side by side. We're going to skip this double crochet here and we're going to go straight into the last stitch in the row. And we're going to put our double crochet there. Okay, and so now we just reduced in this second row. Okay, and so for row 3, we're actually just gonna skip 1 stitch. So I'm just gonna continue making my single crochet stacked turning chain. And we're not gonna chain anything. We're gonna skip this one, and we're gonna work our 2 double crochet like normal. 1, 2, as the pattern calls, and then we just chain 1, and we're gonna follow the rest of the pattern for this row. Okay, so as you can see, I have the little slant starting to show up, and for this row, which is going to be the 4th row, in this case it's the row where it's all double crochet, we're just going to double crochet straight across, no decreases. So for the 4th row, doesn't change, it's still just full double crochet straight across, no decreases. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so as you can see, the decrease is starting to show up very nicely, but just to go over what I did, I reduced by 3 in this first row, but in the second row, I reduced by 2, and in this third row, I reduced by 1 stitch. For the 4th row, sorry about that, I didn't do any reductions, so now we're gonna come back to this first row, or we're gonna repeat the first row again, just to continue with the next row, which is going to be a repeat of this first row from here. So we are going to be reducing by 3, but what we're going to be doing different for this one is we're actually going to be reducing by 4 stitches. So I know it seems a little confusing, but what I did was I started with my single crochet, the stacked turning chain right there. And now what I'm going to do is actually work my next double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, and then I'm just going to go right into that next one so I can double crochet them together through the 3 loops, and then again through the last 2 loops. And now from here, we're not going to chain anything. We're just going to skip this stitch here and go right into that next one with a double crochet. Again, no chain afterwards. We're just going to skip this stitch here and go right into this next one here. So what we're basically doing now is following the pattern from below, as you can see, where I'm putting the double crochet into that same double crochet. So again, we're not going to chain any stitches, and we're just going to go right into that next. We're going to skip this double crochet and go right into that next one. And then just as according to the pattern, we're going to do another double crochet right next to it. And now we're actually going to chain 1, and we're going to continue building up the pattern like we have been. So we're going to chain 1, skip that stitch, and go right into that next double crochet to do my double crochet and chain 1. And again, double crochet and chain 1, skip 1, double crochet 2, 1, 2, chain 1, and I'm just going to finish the pattern according to the pattern. So I'm just going to start working up the second row until I make it to the part where I'm getting ready to do the decreases. And again, for this second row, we're going to be reducing by 2. So I'll come back and of course show you guys how I do that. So like I promised, I'm back and I'm ready to reduce in this second row. So I already did the 2 double crochet next to each other that I need in order to be able to continue with the box, of course, in the pattern. So what I'm going to do now, like I said before, is I'm going to be reducing by 2. So for this one, just like for the last one, I'm just going to yarn over. I'm not going to do any chain spaces here. We're going to skip this stitch here and go right into this next one with our double crochet. And then again, like I said, we're not going to be chaining anything, and we're just going to go right into that last stitch on our hook, the last stitch in our row, which in this case would be that stack single crochet, and I'm just going to go right into the top single crochet there. Just make sure you get under both legs so that way it's not lopsided. If you can. I can. Okay, and that's going to be the slope for this stitch, for this row. Okay, and so now I'm just going to turn it over and we'll get started on that third row, where of course for this third one we're just going to be skipping the one stitch. So here, just going to start with my turning chain, or my turning stitch. Here we're going to be skipping this stitch here. So what we're going to do is just yarn over again, and no chaining, and we're going to go right into that double crochet right there. And this double crochet is actually the one of the two that go side by side, so we'll just go ahead and do that second double crochet right next to it. And now from here we're going to continue our pattern as normal. So we're going to chain one, go into that next double crochet and do a double crochet right on top of it, and chain one, and again go right into that next double crochet, to double crochet and chain one, double crochet on top of the double crochet, and double crochet next to it as well. And you're just going to continue the pattern this way until you get to the end of the row. But that's what the slope is looking like now that we have the 3 rows completed. Okay, so now we're on the 4th row. So of course, continuing with the pattern, this row is going to be a full double crochet row. And just like I did the last time, I'm not going to be reducing in this row at all. So we're just going to double crochet all the way across. And of course, like I said, I'll come back to you guys once I'm ready to begin the repetition again. So we're going to start over again with that row where we're reducing by 3. So I'll see you guys once I finish my double crochet row. So I finished my double crochet row, and now I'm ready to start with the repetition again. So we're back to row 1 where we had reduced by 3 stitches. And for this row, just like in the second set, we're gonna have these edge stitches act as the edge stitches for the second box. As you can see, it's actually done now. So we did finish 2 separate squares. So what I'm just going to do here is start my double crochet, go through the stitch, like if I'm going to double crochet, yarn over and pull that through the loop, go right into that next loop, yarn over and pull it through so that I have 4 stitches on my hook. Then we just yarn over and pull through 3, stop, and now to finish the double crochet we yarn over and pull through the last 2 stitches, and there we have our double crochet where we just double crocheted 2 together. So now we have the 2 stitches to act as that end for this one. So what we're going to do here is just continue as normal. We are not going to chain anything. We're going to skip this stitch here and go right into this next one, and that's going to be 1 double crochet. Again, we're not going to chain. We're going to skip this stitch, go right into this next one. That's 2. And now we're just going to do it one more time, no chain, go right into that 3rd one. And now we just skipped our 3 stitches. So technically we've reduced by 4, but we skipped physically 3 stitches. We double crocheted 2 together at the beginning. So now here, as you can see, according to the pattern in the, not this row, but the next row preceding it, we're just going to do another double crochet right into that stitch there, and then we'll chain 1, and we're going to continue like if our pattern. We're reducing for row 2 now by 2. So as you can see, I did the 2 double crochet that go next to each other, and again, I'm not going to chain. I'm just going to yarn over, skip this next stitch, and go right into this one right here. And we're just going to plant our double crochet. And then again, without making the chain, we're gonna just yarn over, skip this stitch, and go right into that last stitch. Double crochet. And now we can just turn it right over and work the third, which for this row, we're actually not gonna be doing any reductions. Remember I said before we started that we were only gonna be doing we were gonna be doing 2 2/3 of a square. So we finally made it to where we have 2 full squares left over, and that 1/3 is going to be built right now in this row. So I'm just going to start off with my turning stitch, and I'm actually going to work this row in line with the pattern. So for this one specifically, we are going to chain 1, and we're going to skip this stitch right here and go right into this one, which is going to be the 2 double crochet, one right next to the other, that mark off the start, or I guess you could say the end of that third box that we were decreasing. So now I'm just going to chain 1, and I'm going to finish the rest of the row in line with the pattern. So I did go ahead and do that 4th row of just double crochets all the way across. So this is what it's looking like now that we're done with our decreases. That's what it's looking like so far. Well, now that we're done with the decreases, this is what it's looking like. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to do one more repetition. So I'm going to do rows 1 through 4 all over again. No reductions this time, no decreases on any of the stitches. And I'm just going to keep it going the way that it was in row 3 when we had finished. So for this row and for the 2 mesh rows that are going to follow it, I'm just going to do the turning stitch, chain 1, skip this stitch here, do 2 double crochet, one right after the other, so next to each other, chain 1, skip this stitch, go right into that next one with the double crochet, chain 1, again skip this stitch into this one with a double crochet, chain 1, skip this stitch, go into this one with a double crochet, and you'll double crochet right next to it as well, and chain 1. And then again, skip that stitch and double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip this stitch, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip this stitch, double crochet into the next, and another double crochet right next to it. Okay, and like I said, I'm just going to repeat that same thing for the next 2 rows, and then of course I'm going to finish off with my double crochet row, and I'll come back to show you guys what it's looking like once that's done. Here's the completed panel that we've been working on as promised. Now this is actually what it looks like on the wrong side. I can see the knot, but I'm not sure if you guys can see it. But I know that this is the wrong side. There's a little knot right here, but let me just show you guys what it looks like just to make sure that we did the panels the same. This is the panel that I've already completed, and it's already up against the back panel pinned in place so that I can see what it would look like. And here is the panel we just did. So now we just line them up, and if all went well, they should be the same. Oh wow, and they're the same. Okay, so now I can just go ahead and pin this panel onto its correct side,
and then I'll just sew everything together, and I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like once it's all been sewn together.
So as promised, I'm back. I finished sewing all of the panels together for my mesh cardigan. So what I'm actually gonna do now is I'm gonna cut this video here because it actually is pretty long, and in the next video, in part 2, I'm gonna finish the bralette. Well, I'm gonna make the bralette actually, and I'm gonna finish the vest. So I do still have to add the sleeves that I want to add on. Just they're gonna be short little sleeves, nothing too dramatic, but I'm gonna add on sleeves. I would like to add on a collar and just a couple more finishing touches, just so you know I can get the cardigan closed a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put a button or a string here, but of course I'll let you guys know in the next video what's gonna be happening there. But this is the finished base. I mean, if you'd like to stop here, you definitely could and just, you know, use it as a vest. But I'm definitely going to be adding on the sleeves and the collar to it. So I'm going to keep working on it from here. But I just wanted to come in real quick and show you guys what it's looking like and let you guys know what's happening. So I'll see you in part 2, where of course I'll finish off this vest and make the bikini bralette top. But thank you so much for joining me in this week's video. I am going to be posting part 2 shortly, so you're not going to have to wait a whole other week to see the rest of it. But thanks for joining me in this video here. I hope you enjoyed the pattern and just the way that it looks. I love how it worked out to show the little boxes. They're very well defined. I actually really did enjoy working with this yarn, even though it does split a lot. But it is great to work with. It has a very nice drape. It's super soft. And yeah, I had a great time making this vest. So let's go over to part 2, where I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off. I'll see you guys over there. And of course, don't forget to join me on my Instagram. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in part 2. Bye.